What's up, everybody? Well, make a video about YouTube, about life in general. There's no particular method to the madness of this one, and I'm going to start off by, saying I'm really grateful that I have the subscribers I have, and I really enjoy sharing things with all of you. But once in a while I have people who have never, seen my videos before, and they might find my channel and say, wow, I'm really surprised you don't have, more subscribers. And I think, in my mind, 12,000 subscribers is a lot of people. I mean, I can't even believe that I have that many. And it actually does make it a little bit, I don't know, over the years, because I'm being honest here about, my feelings in how it affects my ego, how it affects my desire to make videos or to want to share. Now, when I first started my YouTube channel, my question was not really yet why am I making these? I just started making them and thought this is fun to share. And then, of course, over the first year or two, I would start questioning myself, or have somebody else ask me, why do you make videos? And I'd be like, well, I don't know. Is it to feed my ego? Is it so I can get, people to agree with me? Then I started, of course, I make a lot of videos where I state my personal opinion, and I don't, for example, during the, last election cycle, I lost a lot of subscribers during that time because I was vocal about how I felt about Trump, but it didn't matter to me. I thought, to me it's not about subscribers, it's not about numbers, and I don't care about thumbs up or thumbs down. For me, it's just about sharing. But just finding myself feeling like, well, if I just make a random video about my life, I can upload it to YouTube. I'm not a vlogger, so I don't generally talk about myself and my own personal life. But there are a lot of people who do, and that's their thing, and I'm nothing against that. That's the society we live in now. We're interested in what each other do. So when I do share personal things, people have said, oh, I want to hear more of that kind of stuff, but I just find it not interesting for me to hear it. Let me try to get to it, because that sounds like I don't care. Here's the thing. I care about other people's lives. I care and understand that each individual has, hardships and has greatnesses, and we all want to share. And that's what social media brings us together to do. You can say, look at what I've discovered, or look what I've found, and I think that's great. But there's a point where it becomes absurd. A lot of YouTubers have been complaining lately about being demonetized on controversial videos. Now look, let's not deny that if you're looking to profit on YouTube, you're going to try to either use AdSense, which is the advertisements before the videos, or perhaps you might use, like a third-party, I don't know, type system. Maybe you're advertising for a company, like on your YouTube channel. I've never made anything off of YouTube. I set up a Patreon account, because some people said, you should set one up, and, I'd like to donate a couple bucks. And I think that that's awesome, but I still feel awkward, even having just a few people giving me $5. It's a weird feeling to get paid to sit and talk on YouTube about life. And then I read these stories about these millionaires who are acting like spoiled little brats because they're being demonetized. Millionaires making millions of dollars off of just being a YouTuber. Now, a person may say, well, you're just jealous, you're scoffing at somebody who's been able to make it big off of just talking about themselves or whatnot. I'm not going to put any names out. There are a few big name YouTubers, and those big name YouTubers have been the ones who have been at the center of coverage when they're complaining about something such as being demonetized. And YouTube has certain policies about how they don't allow monetizations or ads on controversial videos, but then they will favor larger channels or, late night hosts and allow them to get away with things that they don't let smaller guys get away with. I understand that. There's a whole world behind the scenes where it's all about money. We all know this, that's the world we're in, but you have to realize we're on YouTube's porch here. Unfortunately, the internet's a public place, but YouTube is also a business. So, they're allowing us to put our videos on here. I'm grateful to even be able to share the things I do. I've never had mine demonetized because I've never monetized them. It's like I have a totally clean slate on YouTube, and I don't have any, any issues with, you know, copyrights or anything like that. But the only thing that's not checked in green is monetization. And they almost try to make you feel guilty, like, hey, you should be earning money with your YouTube channel. The reason I don't is because you don't make enough to make it worth it. Like, it's maybe taking a stand against advertisements in the world we live in. The marketing, it's all bullshit. It's all nonsense. You know, there's no accident. Some of these guys are wearing certain shirts sponsoring certain companies in their videos. You know, they're paid well to do these things. They get sent constant samples and it becomes addictive. And so for some people, that's their life. They're YouTubers. Maybe they just open boxes for a living. I mean, hey, viewer mail, let's just open this and get millions of views. Or, hey, I'm going to put on lipstick today and show everybody else how to do it. Hey, here's a tutorial on how to put on makeup. And a lot of people put on makeup, so therefore those are popular channels. So I'm not sitting here, you know, scoffing at those channels by, you know, saying, hey, they shouldn't be making money. If that's what you do, so be it. But don't complain if you're wanting to make money off advertisements and, you know, the rules don't work out for you. You know, it's the freedom to speak. It's the freedom to be able to say whatever the fuck you want without having to worry about being demonetized. You know, I could monetize, and I don't use a lot of controversial topics, and I could probably, you know, find a way to make money off of talking about stuff like this, but it's not. I feel like as soon as a person does, then they have to edit themselves, they have to censor themselves, they have to be careful about what they say. And nobody wants to. Here's where the issue becomes impossible, is when it gets into the political spectrum. And we have these alt-right douchebags who just want to spend their whole day talking about Hillary Clinton and Obama's problems and look at what they've done in the past and go Trump, and you know, they have their complete own agenda. And then the other side, the extreme liberal media, who just want to bash those guys, and it goes back and forth. Now those are two extreme versions, but if one person from either side decides to agree, well, maybe I'll take maybe one of the alt-right, you know, shows, one of the people who do their, whatever you would call an alt-right show, decides to take a slightly liberal view. Say, well, on this one issue, I think that maybe we should be a little more understanding. And instantly they'll be, you know, condescended and pushed out by many people by saying, oh, you're just buying into the propaganda. And that goes for the other side too, the extremely liberal side, to say, well, what do you mean you don't believe in free healthcare for every single person and unlimited funds to, you know, put into public funds? They say, well, maybe we have to be more cautious with how we use our taxes. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And so there's two sides with two extreme views, and neither one will ever bend and come together and mesh in a deeper understanding of culture and why we are where we're at. And I think that's why I like being, you know, having open format, open dialogue. But I guess what I'm trying to point out is that many of the most popular faces, many of the people that others look up to as, you know, their heroes in media or news or truthers, you know, they end up waking up and being forced to make a video, obligated to talk about certain subjects, and throwing their spin on it because that's what they do. And people are believing people instead of being neutral and analyzing a situation. This is what I see as being one of the most detrimental things. And the ego of these people are fed by their subscribers, by their, you know, their little entourage who say, yeah, go for it. And they have Twitter accounts where they'll sit there and banter back at each other. I mean, I've never even used Twitter. I think that it's just a battleground of nonsense. The only time I've ever, I've looked at Twitter posts by the president, because unfortunately that's the only way I can know what he's saying to the public. He refuses to really give us any, you know, without getting into that much, we all know that, you know, our current president is a Twitter whore, and that's what he does. But other than that, I've seen no need for Twitter. It's caused more problems and more confusion. Social media in general, with the way a person types out a message, is completely misconstrued. Relationships really are, you know, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot more misunderstanding online, and people just let it go and never talk about it. And maybe that's why I like YouTube, because I can sit and make a video and talk about what I want and not have to, you know, you can see my face most of the time and see that, you know, I'm not taking things too seriously, or sometimes when I am. But it goes a long way to see the demeanor of a person, of course, but also to realize that so many of the demeanors of the people that we see in the media are completely full of fucking shit. All of these guys, the Bill O'Reillys of the world, you know, the guys who go on there and they rant and rave, the Alex Jones of the world, the guys who knowingly and admittedly go on camera and put on a persona, a personality, in order to report on topics which are supposedly very important to our society. So, when you have a personality talking about conspiracies and rallying people up about things that may or may not be true, you know, it's not the subject matter that is the problem anymore. It's that you're presenting it as if you're really frustratingly angry, that these things really get to you. But then you go home to your $1 million house, you know, and how many of these pigs in the media, on all sides of the media world, are now being called out for being sexists, for being, you know, one of the things to me is people who get power, people who become famous, especially even as just a personality. They think that they can take advantage of others, and especially women. You know, there's so much assault that happens with women, not even to get into the details, because we all know, you know, those with power think they can do anything they want. The pussy grabbers of the world, if you will. This is just their thinking. They're the kings. They're on top. They're alphas. They do what they want. And I just call complete bullshit. The real alphas of the world are seldom mentioned. The real, if there are such a thing as alphas in our culture, which is a topic all itself, it doesn't matter whether there are alpha males or not. We know that some males have more respect than others. And you can tell when you meet another male, or another person in general, whether or not you have the upper hand or they have the upper hand, or if they're, you know, if they look up to you or look down on you, that type of thing. It's just a society we live in. It's a hierarchical society that we try to ignore. It doesn't mean that the alphas are the people who should be the alphas, and I guess that's my point, that some of the most calm, collected people, the softest spoken, the ones with the greatest ideas, are seldom heard, because they're overwhelmed with the banter and screaming of lunatics and morons and sociopaths, like the people who wear suits and pretend like they know what they're talking about, or when some random rapper or musician comes out with some cause and everybody stands behind him because they respect the person, not realizing the person doesn't even know what the hell they're talking about. And this happens everywhere. And now we're in a post-truth world where we believe that everyone's lying to us, and we're willing to believe what anyone tells us. So, I guess on that note, don't believe anything I tell you. You know, that's what I'm trying to convey. All the things that I bring up, you know, I'm fascinated with these scientific discoveries and spiritual knowledge and the occult. I could go on, and maybe the reason I don't teach more is because I'm not sure of myself, because I'm not sure of what I know. I just like to share ideas, but I never come out and say, this is a fact, this is how it is, because that's just not how it is. Nothing is a fact that we can seem to all agree on, so it becomes pointless to even push a view. We're here to plant seeds in each other's head and say, hey, if this is something that's really important to you, maybe you could look into it. And to realize, of all the colors and angles and sizes and shapes and sexes and races, everybody has something to contribute if they're just given a chance. But some of the people with the most power, the most lobbying, and the loudest voices are just complete garbage people. The people who represent us need to be... They're such horrible representatives in media and in politics that it's a forced change, and a whole new culture is emerging, and we're in the birth of people saying, wait, I don't have to listen to a guy in a suit stand there and tell me what's happening somewhere when I could go there myself, or look to my fellow, you know, people on social media who live there, share the news together, and the trick is for us to be able to see through the fake bullshit on you know, every issue, and that means that we all have to be actively involved without a participated vested interest in proving what we think we know. So, if we want to get past the lies, we have to stop pretending like we have the truth. and stop believing personalities just because they are famous YouTubers or because other people believe them and say, well, they must know what they're talking about. You know, there are some vloggers out there that just are complete morons, and they have some of the greatest followings, and no offense if to anyone in particular, but the subject matter that these people talk about, when they have millions and millions of followers on YouTube and Twitter and elsewhere, and they still proceed to talk about trivial garbage matters and themselves. And that's because that's part of the addiction. They figure if people like me, then I must be great. And if I'm great, I must talk about myself more. And even if they don't, they're trapped in that. Because if they say, this is also what happens, sometimes people are just vloggers talking about themselves, and once they have a platform, they start using that to preach to others or to tell them, hey, this is what's true. And then the people, whatever, walk away because they don't want to hear what's going on. They want to hear what confirms what they believe, or just fodder for the mind, something to distract us from the reality of what's going on. And sometimes mindless media is okay too. Sorry, Moth, you gotta go. So I bid you all adieu, and definitely, I'm just some random YouTuber, you know. But I was reading this article about, you know, some of the, like the 10, I don't know, top YouTubers or something, and they were saying, I'll read these things like, over 70 videos, or they've made over 300 videos, or over 1,000 videos. You know, I've made upwards of 4,000 videos on YouTube over the last 7 years, and I still have hardly any subscribers, and it's not because, well, let's just put it this way, I removed a lot of keywords and things like that from my site. I wanted to eliminate bringing in people just for the sake of, hey, let's subscribe to this channel, because it's mindless entertainment. You know, I like to talk with people, and I like bringing ideas to the table, but not many people really want to hear those types of things, and of course I'm just one random dude. So I'm glad to have the awesome responses that I do, because building something over a long period of time, it always endures better than just an overnight brand recognition. Oh, come check out Carpo's channel, you know, he's talking about this or that, he's going to tell you the latest conspiracies. No, fuck that shit, you know, just be real people. I like real people, even if I don't agree with what they're saying 100%, even if I only agree with half of what they're saying, even if they're completely on the opposite end of the spectrum, as long as I like their personality and they're being honest with themselves, and it's not about them, then I can listen, and I like to find more of those people, you know. So peace and love, everybody, and I'll talk to y'all whenever. Late.